The biggest problem that most construction business owners are struggling with is insufficient or inconsistent cash flow. There are 8 big mistakes, sometimes extinction level mistakes, people make when trying to solve their cash flow problems, and that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com and buildermasterclass.com. My name is Todd DeWalt. It's my job to help you, the construction business owner and leader, eliminate chaos and maximize profits on your job. Let's jump into it. We're going to talk about cash flow in this episode. I recently had a call with a construction business owner who we'll call Ryan, who told me several things like, quote, "Usually we feel like a bank, money in, money right back out, with not much to show for the amount of time and energy we're putting into it." He also said, "We're constantly worrying and we're battling cash flow. Day-to-day cash flow can be a huge burden if we aren't properly planning and scheduling or invoicing just right, or some random hiccup happens." He asked questions like, how can we best predict and manage our cash flow when we're running multiple projects? What is my cash flow going to look like over the next 6 months? Is it even possible to know what my bank account's going to look like 3 to 6 months out? I need to hire a project manager and some field staff, but how do I know I can afford to? Ryan was concerned that if he hired somebody, that he would put himself into a bind. He wasn't sure. He didn't know if he could afford to. Now, this might seem like the way it has to be for construction businesses, right? It's everywhere. Seems like maybe you seem like, or you feel like that it has to be this way, that there's this constant struggle with cash flow, that there's a lack of visibility into your financials, and that being a construction business owner just means dealing with constant anxiety and stress. But what if there was a better way? What if there was a better way? What if it didn't have to be like this? Imagine this. Imagine opening up your financial reports that you get on a monthly basis and knowing exactly what to do with that information. Maybe you're not even getting financial reports right now, but imagine if you were getting good financial reports and you knew exactly what to do with that information. What if you could set goals for your business and your personal income and then know exactly how you're tracking toward those goals? What would it feel like to have a profitable business, one, with solid financial data that you can make decisions with? So you could know, can I hire this person? Is it the right time to buy a piece of real estate? Is it the right time to buy equipment? What if you could confidently make those big decisions like hiring people, buying equipment, buying property? We've all heard the statistics, and they are bad. The numbers are grim. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 25% of new construction companies don't survive their first year in business. And after 5 years, only 36% remain open. That means if you go into business as a contractor today, there is a 64% chance you will fail in the first 5 years. 6 out of 10 contractors go out of business in the first 5 years. Now, I talk to contractors every week. I have coaching clients. I have people set up calls with me from all over North America, sometimes in Europe, sometimes in Australia. And cash flow is at the top of most people's list of concerns. They either don't know what their cash flow will look like in a few months, or they're struggling to pay bills, robbing Peter to pay Paul, so to speak. They're juggling things around, putting off payables so they can make payroll, trying to figure out how to buy materials for jobs that are starting up. And the results are things like, they say things like, I need to hire more people, but I'm not sure I can afford them. I'm not sure it's the right time. They have sleepless nights. They can't shut it off when they get home, and they're not present with their families. Either they can't afford to take a vacation. Even if they do take a vacation or they do take some time off work, they're constantly stressed and struggling about payroll and about finances, and they feel bad about being 60, maybe even 90 days past due on payables. They're constantly playing defense, constantly putting out fires, always on their heels, not able to act strategically, not able to do the things they want to do because they're juggling things around, moving money around, telling people, hey, I'll get you taken care of. And they're acting reactively instead of proactively. Any of that sound familiar? Well, if the construction industry is booming, right? If there's plenty of work, there's a housing shortage, there's a skilled labor shortage, and if contractors from different countries and all different industries are still struggling with cash flow and they're still going out of business, 6 out of 10 are going out of business in the first 5 years, then the problem isn't a lack of work, right? Now, if we were having this conversation in 2008, 2009, when there was no work, after the collapse, it would be a different story, but there's a housing shortage. Interest rates are at an all-time low. There's a skilled labor shortage. People can't find contractors. So it's not, the problem isn't a lack of work. There must be something else, right? Now, let's think about this problem from a big picture perspective. Let's zoom out to like the 50,000 foot level, the macro level. What happens when 6 out of 10 contractors close their doors in the first 5 years? What is the effect on suppliers? What's the effect on the lenders, the people who are financing their operation? What's the effect on their subcontractors that are suddenly left holding the bag? What effect does this have? How does this connect to the skilled labor shortage? What effect does this have on insurance and bonding? If we have businesses going under, that means that it's going to have an effect on bonding companies. They're going to have to step in and finish projects out, and it's going to have an effect on insurance companies. And then the most important thing is, what effect does it have on the employees of those companies that go out of business because of cash flow issues, and their families, the people that are depending on these employees to bring home a paycheck, and the families of the business owners? I know I went through this. I've been through a financial crisis because I had to close down my construction business, and it was because, in large part, of insufficient cash flow. There were a lot of things going on, and I can tell you, I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through what I went through and what my family went through. And then we're trying to get more young people into the skilled trades, right? But what happens if we finally convince somebody to go into the skilled trades? What happens if they go to work for one of those companies that fails? And then how will we ever solve the housing shortage if 60% of all new businesses in construction fail? If you're a general contractor, what if half of your subs go out of business in the next 5 years? If you're a subcontractor, what if one of your GCs that you work with goes out of business? What happens to you? So to some degree, when you look at it in the big picture, we're all in this thing together, right? We're all in this together. From the banking industry to the insurance industry to the bonding industry to our supply chain, we're all in this together if you zoom out far enough. So the problem is that most construction business owners are struggling with insufficient cash flow. It's not a lack of work. I know there are several other things going on out there, but the biggest problem that construction business owners face, and probably the one of the top reasons they go out of business, is insufficient cash flow. And what I found is that there are 8 mistakes people make when trying to solve their cash flow problems, okay? I've made lots of these mistakes. A lot of my coaching clients have made these mistakes. People I've worked with directly, companies I've been inside of, make these mistakes. Here are the 8 mistakes people make, and 8 mistakes you want to avoid when trying to solve cash flow problems. Number 1 is just hope for the best. We're just going to take it one day at a time, take a passenger seat in the business, just along for the ride, and take it one day at a time and operate what I call in a left to right fashion. Left to right means we're just going to bid on the projects that land on our desk. We'll do the best we can with what we have, take it day by day, week by week. We'll start projects up. Maybe we have a strategy, maybe we don't. And then we'll get to the end of the month, we'll get to the end of the quarter, end of the year, maybe hear back from our CPA and ask the question, did we make any money? And usually be frustrated with that result. So that is the hope for the best. And if you've read a great book on negotiation called Never Split the Difference, the author Chris Voss says, hope is not a strategy. So number one mistake when it comes to solving cash flow problems is just hoping for the best. Like I also call it the field of dreams. This is probably something I was guilty of. The field of dreams approach, which is if you build it, they will come. Well, I can tell you that worked in the Kevin Costner baseball movie, but if James Earl Jones is whispering to you, if you build it, they will come and all of your cash flow problems will be taken care of, that's a lie. There's nobody that's going to take care of your cash flow problems, okay? Nobody, the bank, your customers, your suppliers, nobody else wants to take care of your cash flow problems. It's all on you. So hope is not a strategy. Number two is throw new hires at the problem. Let's go hire some people. Let's hire a salesperson to try to drum up sales to fix our cash flow problems. Let's go hire more field crews to get the jobs done faster. And what happens then? Payroll goes up and revenues don't increase enough to make a difference. You just have a bigger nut to cover every month. Doesn't solve the problem. Mistake number three is let's raise our prices to try to make up for it. What happens then? You raise your prices, you get less competitive, you win fewer contracts. That doesn't help the situation in the long term. Mistake number four is to lower your margins to get more work. Let's get more competitive. Let's sharpen our pencil. Let's cut our numbers. Let's get some work. Let's get some deposits in here. Let's just keep the guys busy. And what happens then? You get into a race to the bottom. It doesn't solve your issues. Actually, probably makes things worse. Mistake number five is to pay overtime to get projects done faster and bring in checks. Seems like a good idea, right? But your labor costs go up. You're paying time and a half on jobs that probably weren't bid based on overtime, and profit margins go down. Long-term effect, things get worse. They don't get better. Cash flow actually gets worse. Mistake number seven, which is a mistake this guy made in his own business, was to borrow money. Borrowing money can be like, well, I heard a statement once that said, if you find that you've dug yourself into a hole, the best thing you can do is put down the shovel. So let me say that again. If you have dug yourself into a hole and you find yourself at the bottom of a hole, the best thing you can do is put down the shovel. And trying to use debt or investor capital or bringing on a partner to solve your cash flow problems is like somebody giving you a bigger shovel to try to dig out of your hole. It only makes things worse. The root cause of your problem is not a lack of capital, right? It may just getting more capital, taking on more debt, or however you come into some cash. It's not going to solve your problem. It may buy you a little more time, but it's not really the root cause of your problem. And then if you take on hard money loans, then you're just putting a noose around your neck, and it makes it worse. It only hurts. So please don't be short-sighted. Don't take hard money loans. Don't do the payday loans, those kind of things. They are crippling. I've worked with some people who've tried to get out of those situations, and they are crippling. So that is mistake number 7, is borrowing money. Mistake number 8 is to try to use a system of setting up different bank accounts to track your money, setting up accounts for payroll and profit and retained earnings and taxes. That's all good. That's all good. It's good to sort your beans and have a good system for counting your beans and knowing exactly where they're at, but it doesn't help bring in more beans. It's a good way of sorting them, but it's not solving the problem, which is we don't have enough dollars coming in every month. So then what can we do about such an enormous issue? Cash flow is the biggest problem that contractors face. It is leading to the failure of 60% of the construction businesses that start up in the first 5 years. So what can we do? What do we do about such an enormous issue? Do we just hope for the best? We take that, build it, and they will come field of dreams strategy? Do we just resign ourselves to a career of stress and anxiety and just say, well, that's the way it is? Well, several years ago, I found myself in the middle of the second cash flow crunch that I dealt with in a construction business. I was brought in as the general manager of a business that had about 15 employees and was doing about $4 million in revenue at the time. And after a few months, I was driving back from a coordination meeting on the interstate between Louisville and Lexington, Kentucky, and I got a call from Heather, our bookkeeper, who said this: Todd, we're not going to be able to make payroll in 2 weeks. Now, shortly thereafter, I also learned that the owner was taking out loans on equipment just to keep things afloat. It turns out things had been like this. This had been an issue. Cash flow had been an issue for years. Now, I didn't know about this. This was not part of the job offer. Apparently, I didn't do enough due diligence. But there I was, faced with, how do we make payroll in 2 weeks? And I had no choice but to solve it. I had 15 employees who were counting on me. One of those payroll checks was mine. So I had a very vested interest in solving this issue. And frankly, I was stuck there. I had no other option but to solve it. I couldn't get away from it. To be honest, I was trying to find other jobs, but this was just not long after the recession in 2008, and I was stuck, and I had no choice but to solve it. So I spent the next year uncovering the real root causes behind the cash flow issues. And as I like to say, insufficient cash flow is a symptom of several other underlying issues. So I started uncovering these issues and started putting systems in place to make it go away, to fix it. At the end of 3 years, I'm happy to say we no longer had cash flow issues. At one point, we had over $800,000 in the bank in retained earnings. All bills were paid within 30 days. The owner was actually able to buy a house in Florida with cash and semi-retire, which was one of the reasons he brought me in. I didn't get any more panicked phone calls from Heather about making payroll, and the chaos level went down dramatically. The company had grown from 15 to 50 employees, from $4 million in revenue up to around $11 million in revenue, from barely breaking even to having healthy net profit margins. So what changed? How did a business that struggled for years turn around? Did we get new contracts? No, not really. But here's what I've learned. What I learned during that time, what I learned the hard way, it took me a lot of long hours, a lot of stress and experimentation. Here's what I learned. Operating your business from right to left leads to consistent cash flow and financial peace. Let me say that again. Operating your business from right to left leads to consistent cash flow and financial peace. That's what you want, right? You want consistent cash flow, but what you really want is you want peace of mind. If you're like most builders, you want peace of mind, you want freedom, you want more time, and you want more money. You want to get paid what you're worth. You're putting all of this time and energy and taking all this risk. You deserve to get some reward from that. So that's what I learned. You need to operate your business from right to left. So here's what right to left operation looks like. I talked about this in depth back in episode 65, and it's been a long time since I've talked about it on the podcast, but this is one of the more pivotal things I've figured out. Here's what right to left operation looks like. So you decide on the result you want before you start. You start with the end in mind. You decide on the result you want. What does your ideal lifestyle look like? How much money do you make? What's your personal income? Who are the customers? Who are the types of customers that you want to work with? What type of work do you want to do? What's the kind of company you want to build? The big question is, what do you want? Right to left operation starts with asking that question, answering that question. What do you want? And then that's the result that's over on the right side of the page. And then you start working from right to left, from the right side of the page back to the left, and you work backwards. You break your revenue target down into monthly targets. How much revenue do you need to generate every year to achieve your goals? You break that into monthly targets. You may even break it down into weekly revenue targets per crew and or per project. You are transparent with your team. You tell them what winning looks like. This is what we need to accomplish this week, this month, this quarter, etc. You and your team figure out the issues that could get in the way, and you make preemptive strikes to eliminate them before they happen. Because you're telling your team this is the result we need to hit, and then you're asking them questions like, what's it going to take to make this happen? Because of that, your team is aligned. They're focused on achieving the revenue goal. They know what winning looks like, and they're part of the development of the plan. This pushes and motivates your team to focus on how they're going to win. And when it comes to sales and business development, you know it's a numbers game, so you build a sales strategy for the year. You know how much work you need to bid on and what kind of work you want to pursue. You know what's profitable. You're clear on the work that is in the middle of your wheelhouse. And then every project, every initiative, every year, and every month is started with a clear picture of the end in mind. This is right to left thinking. So let me ask you this. Imagine knowing what your bank account will look like 3 months from now. Even knowing what your bank account's going to look like 6 months. Not guessing, not hoping, but knowing. Imagine what it would be like to know what your bank account will look like 3 months out, maybe even 6 months out. What would that do for you? What would it be like to have 6 months of expenses in the bank? What would it be like to actually look forward to opening up your laptop, looking at your bank balance, instead of feeling anxious about it? What if you could set goals for your business and even for your personal income, and then have a clear plan on how to get there, and then know you can achieve your goals because you have a clear execution plan? Well, that's one of the reasons that I created the Construction Financial Masterclass, to help you overcome each of those mistakes and to help you master the financial side of your construction business. Now, the Construction Financial Masterclass isn't just a course. I've been talking about this masterclass for the last month or two, and it's actually finally ready to go. The Construction Financial Masterclass is designed to guide you step by step and teach you the principles and the strategies needed to solve your cash flow issues for good, even if you have no idea where to start. You'll also learn how to master the financial side of your business so you can know the most profitable projects that you should focus on and then what you need to jettison. You'll be able to understand your financial statements and then use them to actually steer the ship. You'll ultimately have a profitable business with solid financial data that you can make confident decisions with. You can get all the details on the Construction Financial Masterclass over at buildermasterclass.com/CFO. A few things to point out. Enrollment is now open and it closes on April 7th, 2021. The Masterclass is a series of 4 webinars. The first round will be live webinars presented by a panel of construction financial experts. You'll be able to join the live webinars, get exclusive Q&A access. You'll get your questions answered. there is a 110% money back guarantee in 30 days. So if you go through this course and you don't get massive value out of it, I'll give you 110% of your money back. So to see what's in it for you, head over to buildermasterclass.com/CFO. That's buildermasterclass.com/CFO. And let me reiterate those 8 cash flow mistakes. These are 8 mistakes. If you're making these mistakes, my advice is stop. Do something else. Number 1 is the hope. Hope for the best. Build it and they will come. Number 2 is throwing new hires at the problem. Number 3, raising your prices. Number 4, lowering your prices. Number 5, paying overtime. Number 6, hiring a bookkeeper and a CPA to solve it, only to find out that they can't help. Number 7, borrowing money. And number 8 is trying to solve it with some system of different bank accounts to track your money. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you. The good news is you can solve your cash flow issues. You can have a business that is a source of enjoyment and a source of wealth instead of a source of aggravation and stress and anxiety. You can have a nice war chest to operate from. You can have confidence to make decisions, but you have to master the financial side of the business. You have to get your cash flow situation under control, and you have to solve the underlying root causes that are causing the cash flow symptoms that you're dealing with. So I would encourage you, if you want to master the financial side of your business, put your cash flow problems behind you, then go check out the Construction Financial Masterclass over at buildermasterclass.com/CFO. If you have any questions about that, you can send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. The links will be in the show notes, and let me know how I can help you. Remember, enrollment is open now through April 7th, 2021. And I look forward to helping you master the financial side of your business in that masterclass. As always, thanks so much for listening. I appreciate the ratings, the reviews, and my name is Todd DeWalt from buildermasterclass.com and constructionleadingedge.com. I'll see you next time.